Hello everybody and welcome to my first ever meal prep on this channel. The reason I've been hesitant or holding off from this is because I don't meal prep myself. So today I'm bringing you a high protein meal prep that you can use to very easily hit all your macro goals every day by just preparing food one day out of the week. And I will be showing you the correct macros for each meal as well, so you don't gotta worry about that. So as I'm making each one of these meals, just pretend that I'm making very large batches of these meals. Technically, I'm gonna count this meal prep as prepping for a Monday to Friday week. I hope you guys do enjoy this. If this is going to be helpful to you, then leave a like on the video. It helps my channel grow and push this video out to more people who are struggling with meal prepping on a vegan diet as a vegan athlete. So thank you for that. So let's just get started with the first meal. First, we are going to need a cup of sweet potato, and you guys will need to make 5 cups, obviously, if you are planning for 5 days. And we're actually going to bake this sweet potato because sweet potatoes baked just taste way better. We're also going to be using some tempeh. You can use pretty much any brand for this. This is the Soy Boy brand. I think this might be a local brand, but we're going to be using a serving of this, so you guys are making 5 servings of this. Then you will need a cup of rice. I've actually already got rice cooked here, but I'll show you how I usually cook my rice. And then lastly, we're going to be making a tahini sauce. And while I am making all of this, I'm actually going to cook something that I'm going to be using in the third and last recipe that I'm going to be showing you guys for meal prepping.
Here we are, it's quinoa.
So for quinoa, it's about a 1 to 3 uncooked to cook ratio. So if you cook 1 cup of quinoa, it's going to make 3 cups of cooked quinoa. So keep that in mind when you're making this, but I'm going to show you the measurements for the quinoa when we actually get to that recipe. All I'm doing right now is just going to put this in the rice cooker. If you guys don't have one of these, this is like the greatest invention ever. This rice cooker, you can cook so much stuff in it. You can cook soup, you can cook obviously rice, you can cook quinoa, oatmeal, a bunch of different stuff. I highly suggest getting one of these because it simplifies the process of cooking whole grains to the max. So if you want to purchase this, I'm actually going to leave a link in my description to the one that I have. Okay, let's just put this in here real quick. And we will check back with this later.
Now for this potato, what we want to do to cook this is
poke this with a fork because we're baking it. We don't want it to explode. We are going to use just a tiny bit of olive oil because it'll make it be like kind of crispy. It will taste better and it'll cook better. Oil is just great for baking. I know it's not good for you, but we need it. We need it, guys. Well, we don't need it. You know what? Just use a little bit of it. And then for seasonings, you can use any seasonings you want really, but I'm gonna use some garlic powder and some Sicilian seasoning that I have. That should taste pretty good. Okay, this is all good. Then you wanna get yourself some aluminum foil and you wanna wrap that. Wrap it in aluminum foil. It helps the baking process in a way that I don't really understand. Now, usually you would bake this in an actual oven, but I'm gonna use my toaster oven over here. Honestly, just because I forgot to turn on the oven and I don't wanna wait for it to heat up. We got 2 more meals to make even after this meal, so I'm just gonna put it in the toaster oven.
And the amount of time it takes to cook is pretty much the same for both the toaster oven as well as the actual oven. You want it to be at about 425 degrees for about 30 minutes. We are just gonna let that cook while we prepare the rest of the meal.
Now, as for this tempeh, you can really use any type of seasoning or sauce you want, but I'm just gonna stick to what I typically use, which is a teaspoon of liquid aminos. What liquid aminos are, if you don't know, it is basically just soy sauce, but like a healthier version of soy sauce with less sodium. I highly recommend it. So I don't know about you guys, but I always chop my tempeh up like this. I just find that it's really awesome this way. Then add a teaspoon of liquid aminos, and then I'm just like mixing them up with my hands, doing this very unorganized as I usually do these things. Now that is solid. We're gonna bring this over to the stove. So now Turn on the stove, medium heat. Again, we're just going to use a very small amount of oil. If you don't want to use oil, don't use it. If you're really against it, it's totally not necessary. Bring on the tempeh. Now we're gonna wait till the bottom side gets crispy, gets golden brown, and then we're gonna flip them over. But while this is cooking right now, I will show you how to make that tahini sauce. You're going to take some tahini. Maybe yours is already liquid form, but mine is very solid, as you can see in there. And you're going to take some some type of marinade, some type of Asian marinade like teriyaki sauce. This is called Fire Dragon sauce. It's basically like sweet teriyaki. And you're just gonna mix them together. So 2 tablespoons for me, but for you guys it will be 10 tablespoons. And like I said, mine is very solid, so what I'm going to do actually is use a bit of this soy milk to make it liquid. I get a little bit of this. Reason I like using plant-based milks is because it makes the sauce even creamier. This sauce is nice and liquidy, so we're gonna put that marinade stuff in it too. Going to be using just half a tablespoon of this stuff. And it is done. It's sweet, it tastes great. Mixing tahini with like any sort of Asian sauce is always gonna be really good. Okay, finally that sweet potato is done. Now it's done. It is done. It is nice and soft. Make sure you poke it with a fork, and if you can poke a fork all the way through it, it means the potato is done. So I'm going to take the potato out of this toaster oven, and I already have conveniently placed the rest of the ingredients in here except for the sauce. I'm going to pour that on top on the end. I will put this in the Tupperware, and I will show you guys the end result as well as the macros. And by the way, if you guys can get glass Tupperware, it's much better. You know, plastic's not good for the environment, and it's also gross to cook your food in plastic. You're gonna be reheating this meal, most likely.
One saucing later.
Alright, here we go. It is definitely not the most aesthetically pleasing meal out of the bunch, but it is really, really good. Probably the most flavorful. And what I'm actually gonna do for aesthetic purposes, but this is not gonna be included in the macros and you don't have to do this, is just top it off with some sesame seeds. Now, let's get meal number 2 already. Now for meal number 2 here, which is definitely a smaller meal, but it is packed with protein. We are going to be using 5 servings of this red lentil spaghetti from Wegmans. We are going to be using a cup of cooked broccoli. I'll show you a few ways to cook this broccoli to make it taste good. We are going to be using a lot of grams of tomato. I'll show how many grams on screen. And we are going to be using 5 servings of seitan. You can buy it store-bought, but if you want to make your own seitan, because it is a lot cheaper, you can go check out Brian Turner's video. He's a famous vegan bodybuilder on how to make your own seitan. So let's get into making this. So all we want to do first while making this is grab a pot, put it in the sink, fill it up with some water. Now we are going to put it onto the stove, put the top on. Just gonna wait for that to boil, and while we are waiting, let's get the other things prepared. Now for the 5 cups of broccoli that you're going to be cooking, there are a couple ways that you could actually cook this. One way is to just throw it into the pot here with the lentil pasta, because when you boil broccoli it gets cooked. That's a very easy way to do this. Or if you want your broccoli to taste good and have a little bit more calories because of the oil, what my mom actually did for this batch of broccoli is she just seasoned a little bit with salt and pepper, put some olive oil on it, and then put it in a pan like this. She put it in there with some oil and just cooked it up. So if you want your broccoli to taste better, you care more about taste than healthiness, you can do that too. But the macros I will be showing you will be for the healthier version, just the boiled broccoli version. So let's just pretend I threw in 5 cups of broccoli into this pan. Now, while we wait for that water to boil, we are going to put our 5 servings of seitan into the pan to heat it up a little bit and get it a little more crispy. And I'm just breaking it up a little bit here because these pieces that it came in are a little too big, and you can't really see it in the background, but the pasta water is now boiling. We are gonna throw the pasta into this pan right here. Here we go. And you'll want to use a spatula just to make sure that the seitan doesn't start burning. So I'm going to let this cook, let the pasta cook, and then I will get back to you guys once we really start formulating the whole meal. Okay, so our pasta is all done here. All we're going to do now is drain it and put it in the Tupperware. As you can see, I already decided to dice up the tomatoes off of camera, and we will see what this meal is looking like. And here we go with the second meal for our meal prep. It looks delicious, and if you want a little bit more flavor in this, because I do understand that it is pretty dry, you can add that tahini sauce that I showed you guys earlier, or maybe you want to add some nutritional yeast on top. Maybe you want to add a little bit more oil. Do whatever you like. You can customize this meal to your liking. So now let's show you guys the macros for this meal. And now finally, let's show you the last meal, meal number 3, which is going to be a high protein salad. Now for this third and final meal for this 5-day meal prep, you're gonna need 5 servings of tofu. That's usually just a block of tofu. I wanted to make that really easy for you guys. You're gonna need 5 servings of whole sweet corn. You're gonna need 5 servings of the sweet peas. Then you're gonna wanna use a couple cups of any type of salad blend. The salad blend that I am using is made with baby spinach and arugula, really good. And then as for the seasonings, because we will need to season that tofu, because seasoned tofu seasons tofu a lot, we are going to be using quinoa, as you can see. No, I'm just kidding. It's actually nutritional yeast. You can't really see in there, but it is nutritional yeast. I'll try to show you guys back there. You can kind of see. It's just wrongly labeled. So we're going to be using a couple tablespoons of that, 1 tablespoon on top of the tofu to actually season it and put it in the pan, and then 1 tablespoon to just put on top of the salad when it's done. That is really good for salads. Like, it's a nice alternative for like grated Parmesan on top of a salad. And then we're going to be using a little bit of this Sicilian seasoning again, because it is just really good. If you want to use salt and pepper and oregano and other herbs and spices, it's probably the same as using this Sicilian seasoning. And then you are going to need 10 tablespoons of your favorite dressing. Right now I am using this traditional Italian dressing from Wegmans because, you know, I have it and it's gonna taste good with this. All right, let's start making this salad. Shouldn't take too long. So first up, I just want to defrost the corn and the peas by putting it in the microwave. Obviously when you eat this, it's all gonna be cold, but we obviously don't want our peas and corn to be frozen. Now while that's in the microwave, let's do pretty much the only elaborate part of this whole thing, which is seasoning the tofu and cooking the tofu. So for salad in tofu, I feel like the only way to cut the tofu that really makes sense for a salad, at least in my opinion, is to cut it into cubes. Oh, and by the way, the firmer the tofu that you can buy, the better for this, because we want this to kind of mimic some type of meat in the salad. Right now I'm using extra firm, and that's what the macros are gonna be for as well, that you're gonna see. All right, we have it all cubed. Now let's head over to the pan. Now that this is heated up, we're gonna just place the tofu on there. Waiting to season the tofu until we are actually on the pan. I just find that it's easier and less messy that way. So we got that nooch and the Sicilian seasoning. And now we just wanna wait until all the sides of the tofu are nice and crispy. The crispier, the better. And I will show you guys what I put together for this at the end.
1 crisping later.
And there we go with the third and final meal for your meal prep. I actually forgot to tell you guys that the quinoa was all cooked up and ready in the pan over there. Don't know why I just said pan. I meant the rice cooker over there. So I just put it in off camera, and this is what we are working with. I already put the 2 tablespoons of Italian dressing on there, but I'm just gonna leave the nutritional yeast on top that I'm gonna sprinkle on top here for after I am done with this video, because it doesn't look as aesthetically pleasing. I need those good shots for the video intro, you know? So now let's have the macros for this last meal. These 3 meals only came out to 1,000 something hundred calories. I don't remember the exact amount. So you will be needing to eat more than just these 3 meals throughout the day. But I hope this gave you some great ideas as to easy things you can make for meal prep when you are very busy. If you want to see more of these videos, leave a comment below. I will make more meal prep videos for you guys. This took me a couple hours to cook all of this. It is a lot of hard work, but I will do it for you guys. If you leave enough comments below saying do more of these, I will do them. Okay, have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you guys later.